Hey, you guys, this is Earl Jones, and you are on the Earl Jones Show. I have Andy Techmeier here with me. Now, give you guys some background. So, on my show, we talk about insurance. At some point, we're going to talk about mortgages, but I'd like to bring entrepreneurs raw conversations with other business owners about the stuff that they deal with, right? Their business, the whole nine yards. So, Andy and I met in 2019 at a landmark year in vacation course in where were we at? Las Cabos?
Yeah.
Las Cabos. And so he was a professional golf caddy. And then he was like debating as whether or not he was going to start his own coaching business. And then I find out he started his coaching business. So I wanted to like get him on the show to talk about all of that plus some, right? We're probably gonna get a little personal, a little cray cray. Um, just so you guys know, Andy is down in Mesa, Arizona. Which golf course resort are you working for?
I work part-time out of Paradise Valley Country Club.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, so let's just jump right into it. So let me tell you guys something. I will give you a disclaimer. This is raw, unedited. I'm not going back and edit it. Whatever we say is what we say. And it's not, and don't take it as gospel. This is for entertainment purposes only. Got it? Disclaimer, because we're going to get a little raw because we're both, graduates of Landmark. And so we can be upfront about what's up. So I am curious, Andy, question number one. Why did you choose to be a golf caddy? Out of all the things you could have done, why golf?
Hmm. Well, I started playing golf when I was 7. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I was working for 2 golf coaches that were both top 50 instructors.
Oh,
And so that's how I went to professional caddying. I caddied when I was younger at country clubs just because I loved being around the game.
mm-hmm.
But when I worked with these 2 coaches in Phoenix, they ran their golf school in the wintertime outdoors when the weather's nice. But when the summer comes around, it gets very hot. And they said, we're going to travel around and do some other stuff, but would you want to go caddy on tour for the summer?
When you
And
say tour, do you mean the PGA Tour or the P?
the LPGA tour, so the PGA tour for ladies.
Got it.
And actually in the beginning, they didn't really say, but they'd worked with more lady golfers because both of these coaches were both ladies. So they had more female pros that would come and work with them. And I thought, yeah, I'll go do that. And then one of their students, one of the players that worked with them, was from Finland, and she was only 21. She played in Europe. She'd won in Europe. She was actually the first player, male or female, to ever shoot 62 in a major championship.
What does that mean, 62? Because, I don't play golf. That is not my concept of, you know, I've tried to play golf and I think I've drank more bottles of water trying to hit the ball than I did hitting the ball.
Right.
What does the 62 mean?
People measure their score based on how many drinks they have, not. But in golf, most golf courses are par 72. And so if you shoot 62, that means you're 10 under par in one round, which is very, very good. Like to give it in the world context, only 4% of all golfers worldwide have a handicap of 80 or less. So meaning their average score is 80 on a par 72.
Oh.
So that's the top 4%. And then if you're somebody that shoots 62, you're in the top 0.01% of golfers.
Oh, so this woman was big time. In the words of Peter Gabriel, big time.
Yep. And so that's what it was. I had an opportunity to caddy in the summer, and then I had an opportunity to start working with her. And as talented as she was, it was like, hey, this could be really fun to try to help her play good golf and travel the world and do some fun things. So I took it up.
Wow. And you've been a professional caddy since then?
Yeah, that was back in the first full season I did with her was back in 2006.
Whoa. So 14 years as a professional caddy plus.
Off and on. Yeah, I took a couple years off in there, but.
Wow. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is what's a good tip for all the golfers out there that are like 100 par and higher? Like, is it like maintain like, is it a straight wrist or is it a little bit in the wrist, or is it like keep your eye on the ball, or like get the white balls with the red dots? Like, what's the good tip?
I would say the overall best tip for anybody to play golf is remember what it is about the game that you enjoy, and have fun. Like if you don't have fun, I've seen so many different people, I've been to so many different places, I've enjoyed it immensely, but I've also hated the game immensely.
Uh,
And so it's like whatever's fun about it for you. If it's riding in the golf cart, if it's driving the golf carts, if it's having drinks, like whatever will have you play the game more, do that. And then as a byproduct, you will get better.
by having fun playing the game, like golf is is a much more mentally, physically challenging game than bowling. I mean, like it's a really,
But that's why. So the thing is there's if you can if you can remember to enjoy what you're doing, and then stick with the process of like learning. But fun is key. Like if as soon as it loses its fun,
uh-huh,
and it's a difficult game to begin with. So like
right,
when people come out with me and they're like, oh, I just like having drinks, or I just like doing, the corporate outings where you play as a team scramble.
right.
It's like, okay, great. Whatever will have you enjoy it. Because as soon as the game is hard enough. If I give you homework and I start making it like you have to do this and you have to do it the right way, it's not fun at all.
Oh. Okay, so professional golfing, and then I meet you. So good, delicious, and you've actually worked with pros. It sounds like, if I understood correctly,
Yep.
right? And you've watched them, you've observed them, you have like helped them. I assume you've also given them, at appropriate advice to help them win the game, or when they've asked you for their advice. What was that like? Because a lot of people, we see golf on TV, and we think that Tiger Woods, and I don't know the top lady golfers, I'm sorry ladies, sorry, but you see them on TV, but you don't see them interacting with their caddy too much. Is that just the way that it's designed up, that the caddy's like in the background, like providing them like with energy to win, or like what's that like?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because so relative to like the camera time, we're there, but when they're on camera when they're hitting shots, and when they're hitting shots, we're off to the side. So a lot of times you're only going to see like our feet or us holding a flag stick in the background. And caddies like it that way. Like not everybody does, but I've noticed that, and the personality I have today is not, back when I was younger, I was a lot more introverted. I liked being the person that was supporting the pro,
Right.
and not have to deal with the limelight. And then what it's like is it's a lot of pressure, because you're helping this person. Number one, like anybody that's a professional athlete, is playing it because they enjoy the game and they're hopefully trying to win or trying to be their best.
Right.
That's what's fun for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you fail, right, if I'm caddying for you and I give you some advice and it's bad advice, and you end up losing a tournament or not performing as well, the first layer of pressure is that you're upset that you're not achieving your dreams. But then the real pressure comes from that you are doing this to earn a living, and so am I.
Mm.
And
It's like a symbiotic relationship.
yes, and it's when I first started caddying, that's when I had my first inspiration working with those coaches to be like, hey, I want to be a coach, but I didn't want to be a golf coach. I was already learning some things from them about thoughts, about feelings, the nervous system, stuff that affected golfers.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, how come we're not teaching everybody and not just these wealthy golfers, And this was way before I found Landmark. But then when I go caddy, it was fun because I had tools that other caddies didn't have. Because of that, I could have conversations with my players about, well, what are you thinking about and how do you feel? And how can we focus on what's really going to make the difference in terms of your playing? And we're talking about the best players in the world. They know how to play golf.
Right.
But then that's where the mental aspect you can get in your own way. So there was a lot of emotion. That was the other thing, especially caddying for women. there was a lot of tears that I would have to witness and be around. And I would say that was the most difficult thing.
Because I grew up in the bowling world. Like my mother, my father basically raised us in the bowling alley, right? But I remember the women bowlers always felt like they had to bowl 3, 4 times, 5 times harder and more consistently than the men bowlers just to even be taken seriously.
Mm,
Because because even if you watch the professional bowling shows for the men, the prize funds are much bigger than they are for the women. But
yeah.
when you watch the women bowl, you see the women like they are giving all like emotion, like like it's like night and day sometimes. Like I just feel like women still get a bad rap in the sports world. They're still not treated as total equals, even though I know there are women that can go toe to toe with a man and wind up beating the snot out of him.
Well, and then that's a good point too, because in general, the men in the golf world make about 6 times more. Like, I think their overall, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know, say, of the average prize purse. So each tournament, there's a sponsor and they put up money, and they're not all this wide, but there's tournaments where their prize purse is 5 to 6 times more than what it is for the ladies. And that was the other thing about the pressure when I first started caddying. When I first was going to go do it and had this player, I was like, oh, I'm going to be rich. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be a professional caddy, travel the world, be around all these, women, good looking golfers. And then I looked at the money list, and again, perspective. Now this was 15 years ago, but on the men's tour today, it's a constantly repeating competitive thing, and you have to maintain 125 on the money list. Number 125 is still earning about $1 million. Okay, so even if you don't finish top 125, let's say you finish 130, you're still earning close to $1 million, even though you may not be able to play on the PGA Tour next year.
Right.
For the women, they do top 80 to top 90. Around 80 or 90th on the money list, that player is earning $150,000.
You
and
can
then,
as a sales rep,
and they have to pay for their travel expense. They have to pay for my salary. I'm getting a percentage of their winnings. So when I first started and I saw that, now what's interesting is for the ladies, the top 10 players are earning $1 million a year or more.
Right.
So if you caddy for somebody in the top 30, they're earning anywhere from $500,000 or more. And then as a caddy, you're doing pretty well.
Right. Ladies out there, just know that I am pushing for equality in the sports. I'm just saying. I think back to my days, and I remember from my days of bowling, I remember quite a few ladies with jackpot with the men in the bowling alley, right? And be beating me behind. I mean, just straight up, these girls are starting strikes. They get down on them lanes.
Right.
Yeah, but when you separate the women's team from the men's team, like the women's league and the women's league and men's league, the men's league always had a bigger jackpot than the women's.
That's interesting. That's really interesting for that sport.
That's in bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, I love the fact that you're doing the caddy thing, but I'm curious as to when did you decide that you wanted to move over from the caddying to now you want to be a coach?
So like I'd said, back when I worked with those coaches, and that was really the inspiration. I think coaching also runs in my family. My mom's brother was a high school basketball coach and educator, and my grandfather went to school for coaching. And then as a caddy, like I thought caddying was going to be easy, but then once I had to learn these skills to be responsible, to learn how to be responsible for the outcomes that we were creating as a team, and learning tools and doing landmark and doing all these different programs because I wanted to be successful as a caddy. It was, I would say a couple of the big shifts were 5 years ago is when I really saw, and that was one of the times that I took some time off of caddying and tried to make a go of coaching. And then recently, just back right before I met you, was like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. I think I have the skills. I'm ready to just go ahead and do it. So
let's go back to when you said you tried to make a go of it, because there's one thing that, that I've discovered as a, as an entrepreneur, is that there's the whole, entrepreneur is being sold as like, start your own business, be successful, be a millionaire, which is all true, but it's packaged and presented in such a way that like it's going to happen like in 90 days after you bought this program, right?
Yeah.
And in some cases it does, but the majority of cases it does not. When you say that you tried to go of that, is that what your experience was, or was that because you decided that you wanted to like what was that try to make a go of it? Like what was that?
Yeah. So I was caddying, and I had had a few years where I was basically applying a lot of my own coaching stuff as a caddy, right?
Right.
So having there's like there's a I and then too as a caddy, I researched this, and I was trying to be the best caddy I could be, and my definition of a pro caddy is you put me with any person and I help them play better golf.
You could work with any person, you help them play better golf.
Yep. And what I stumbled upon in this was realizing how important your thoughts and your feelings and your outlook was on your performance, especially when you already have the technical skill. Right. So, because I first bumped up against that as a caddy, like I was at a tournament in Korea, and there was not that many caddies. It was a Korean tournament, and there was not that many caddies from the US that had gone over there. And I was walking the course with two of my friends. And so we're walking the course, we're doing the same homework, except my friend and her player win the tournament, and my player withdraws because she was injured. So she made $10,000 that week. My player was still kind enough to give me a little bonus pay of $400.
Right.
But I remember after that tournament thinking, what is she doing different than what I'm doing? Because from a technical aspect, we're both caddying. And it was shortly after that I realized how important mindset was. And so then discovering that's when I wanted to make the transition. And then really what just got in the way is like really owning wanting to become a life coach. Because
right.
I feel like that's really what that niche is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I quit caddying, started doing stuff on the side, was looking at it. And what's kind of, I think, ironic about my story was like, I discovered this sort of like personal development work and how powerful it was. And when I went to go start my business, I wasn't practicing it. Like, I wasn't making sure that I had a good mindset and that my emotions were where I need to be, and that, and representing who I was and who I was saying I was becoming. And if I'm not doing that, well, then that's why the business didn't work, because I am the business.
Right. You are the business. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I've discovered in my own insurance business, right? It's like I have to constantly keep reminding myself, I am the business, right? And I will confess, this COVID-19 has really shaken up my foundation and has really forced me to look at, my behaviors, my mindsets, my beliefs. I'm now practicing letting go and setting the attention, right? And then just let it go. Because I had it that it had to be a certain way. Like it reminds me of my days of when I was in, junior bowling, and I had to, it wasn't enough to get a strike, but it had to be a certain way the ball hooked in order to get to the pocket to get the strike, in order for me to feel like I've done something wonderful, even though that strike meant in the 10th frame that we won the game. And who cared if it was Brooklyn or if the 5-pin rolled and hit the 7-pin, right?
Yep.
Mine was the ball. I had to release the bowling ball the right way. It had to be smooth. I had to look good. My booty had to be like perfect height, right?
I love that. I've never worried about my booty in my business. I'll have to add that measure in.
I am not joking. I'm not joking. I'm so serious. But I'm now learning the art of letting it go. Set the attention, put it out there, do what I know to do, and just let it go. Yeah. So it's interesting that you're talking about you went down this path, and then you noticed that you weren't doing the things that you were getting other people to do, and then
Well, and here's piggybacking off of what you just said. caddies are some of the most skilled let goers, people that can let go, that you'll meet, because when I caddy for you, you hit every shot.
Okay.
I don't hit a single shot.
Oh, that's right. Because you're not up there swinging the club. I am.
Exactly. And I'm still part of the team. So I need to be in the game mentally, emotionally, and have your back the whole time. But also, as soon as you hit, and really it's even before you hit the ball, there's a sense of like, I can't control what's going to happen. Like, I can influence you, but when your job is solely to support another person and make sure they're successful.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, I have it that I'm really good at letting go. And then what I need to work on in my business is being more assertive, and then remembering, okay, when I was a caddy in the golf world, I was a caddy. I was the person that supported the person, but in my business, I'm the player.
You are the player.
Yeah. So then, and then, okay, so, where's my team? Who are the people that I have to hold me accountable, whether in my organization or outside my organization? Because one of the other things I've learned as a caddy is nobody performs at a high level on their own. Like, you don't really compete in the highest of levels by yourself. You have a coach, you have a team, you have people to support you.
Now I'm going to stop you because I hate you now, because that is something I've discovered this last Wednesday. Like, I woke up because when I go to bed now, I listen to audiobooks, like to get that subconscious reprogramming to move just a little bit faster, right? And I woke up like at 4:30 in the morning, and that was one of the things. I was like, okay, Earl, leadership and learning how to build teams to support the movement of this thing that that I'm out to create, right? And now you're saying it. Okay, universe, I got it. Well, I'm mad now. I'm not joking. I'm serious, because it's okay. Keep going. I've hijacked. I'm sorry.
Well, no, and what's interesting is I learned, I joked with a friend recently, and I said, caddies, like before caddying, I didn't have any relationships. Like, the reason I liked golf was it was a game I could play by myself on my own terms anytime I wanted. I didn't need another person.
Oh,
And then once I started caddying, now all of a sudden my job is to help this other person. And I realized I can be really knowledgeable, but if I don't know how to communicate, if there's no trust, and that's, the first 3 years, I learned a lot through trial and error. And I was, when I would walk the course, would talk to other caddies and ask them and try to befriend them and try to create alliances and see if I could, learn faster.
mm-hmm.
But even today, I'm still learning about how important relationship is. But it's funny how as a caddy, it was like, okay, let me just get good at this one relationship. And I've worked for a bunch of different players.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting when it comes to, and even saying that now, like, I'm still a very independent person. I like doing things the way I like to do them. I don't like being questioned. I don't like, like all those different barriers to building teams, whatever they may be. But I'm seeing, like looking at growing into, because that's the other, what's interesting too, is like, you're just a leader. Like, you're somebody who, look at you got your show, you're doing things, and then it's learning, okay, how do you let people help you? Like, as a caddy, I've always been the person of like, you pay me, it's my job, I'm going to help you.
Right.
But now I'm in the role of, wait a second, I'm the player. So how do it's like that line from Jerry Maguire, help me help you.
Help me to help you. Yes, which is a good point. So now that you've decided to start this, to be the personal coach, you've started this business, you've launched this business, right? How are you changing your mindset to be, that person who builds structures and all that stuff that goes into being an entrepreneur? Because you need that as a personal coach, right?
Totally. And then, what I'll say too, and because you kind of brought this up earlier, is that it is an ongoing journey. I remember a seminar I went to years ago. This guy said, it's not so much about how fast you go, but just keep going. Right? Like, if you can do a little bit every day, or read a little bit every day, or listen to an audiobook every day, And that's also the trick. It doesn't seem like you're doing a lot, but over time it adds up. So right before I met you, I'm like, okay, put a stake in the sand. Let's do this. I hired a coach, but I have no foundation. I have no daily practices. I have nothing.
Well, that's not true because I've seen where you've been doing. Oh, this is before. Got
This
it.
is like end of 2019, right?
Okay, 2019. I was going to say because I was going to stop you, child.
Yep. But then at the end of 2019 and seeing this and saying, okay, I know. So then January 5th, I started a daily meditation practice. I'm on day 125 right now.
Oh.
Yep. So I meditate every day. Like in the last couple of weeks, I've started adding groups and inviting people to play with me.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I drew a line in the sand and said, okay, you got to do, this is now like brushing your teeth or drinking water. You meditate every day because you know it's good for you.
Right.
And I enjoy it. It's, and it's been an on-off relationship. The other thing I'm recently into is breath work.
Mm-hmm.
I've initially heard of that through Wim Hof, and then have studied there's a guy by the name of Michael Stone with neurodynamic breath work, and then holotropic breath work from Stanislav Grof. I love that. It helps me immensely, and I'm actually looking at ways that I can help people with that. But then too, a lot of it is like the tools that I got from Landmark. And one of my favorite quotes in life is, what's easy to do is easy not to do.
Amen.
And so it doesn't take that long when you wake up in the morning to drink a glass of water, meditate, take some time, and then say, okay, who am I? What am I up to? Not just what am I going to get done, but who am I going to be today while I do it? And is this going to be fun? Am I going to be playful? Am I going to be powerful? Am I going to be? And so really just instituting that back in, because those were the little practices that I wasn't doing, that now it's like, and then I'm in the process of building an accountability team, like realizing that I need, as reliable as I am to myself, I'm not 100% reliable. And so who will I allow to support me, to remind me of what I'm up to when I forget.
So you've gone from being Mr. Independent solo, the caddy in the background, to now you are creating teams and structures so that you can powerfully deliver that which makes a difference for your clients.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting. I want to dig in a little bit deeper on that one. So what happened that made you realize, okay, I have to transform who I'm being in order to be an entrepreneur? Because it just wasn't, it wasn't in the thunder, was it?
No, then this, I think this is also this is why I love the rawness and the authenticity. The epiphanies for me have always come from breakdowns, like huge breakdowns, where it was a month out of my coaching program, mid-December. I had an opportunity last year. I got invited to do a TEDx talk in August, which I didn't do. I had hired a coach and I had worked on it. But just there was stuff that came up that I was not comfortable and ready to deal with. And so I spoke in December at an event called Triumph Over Trauma.
Oh, what's her name?
Angela Green.
Yes.
And so I spoke at that, and that was a very cool event. I shared my story and my background and my family's background with alcoholism and addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that what opened up in that talk was realizing that I had fallen back into those behaviors. I don't drink alcohol, but I was taking edible marijuana like very regularly last summer. And then the day after that talk, there was just like, all of a sudden it hit me, like all these emotions and all these negative emotions and negative thoughts, and that having not tended to a positive mindset, having not tended to being responsible for certain things, all this negativity showed up. And then, it was not fun. I mean, and what was interesting for me is this was all pre-COVID-19. So like, yeah, I go through the holiday season, I get into the new year, there's more waves of depression, and it's like, oh my God, you just decided you're going to start your business. And then the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and And then I was just feeling good and I was about to go caddy on tour. And then they were like, no, we're shutting down the tournaments, COVID-19. And I'm like, all right, great. Let's just keep practicing self-care. Let's just keep going with this. So.
And so the meditation has helped you with overcoming that darkness, that like those models of conversation that you've inherited from God knows where.
Yes. And for me, you know, it's as somebody, you know, you and I share an experience and this background with, and these distinctions from Landmark, and that, you know, there's this lingo, right? People talk it, they call it land Martian and these way that people talk, but then also realizing, for me, it's like getting more in touch with what are the emotions, like, how do I feel? And yeah, the meditation has been, and what's interesting too, is one of the conversations around Landmark is about integrity. And a lot of times I think people look at that as like physical integrity. Are you taking the right actions? Are you doing the things you need to be doing? But it's really looking at, but are you empowered? Like when you wake up in the morning, do you feel shame? Do you feel guilt? And do you have people that you can talk to and deal with that? And then you know, I would imagine from our friendship, you've seen a lot of me going live on Facebook.
You have been going live on Facebook talking about some stuff. I was like, I am not there to talk about things like that. I will confess, I shot a video, you know, and I deleted it, talking about, you know, my fears of COVID-19, that I'm, you know, that I'm scared, that my, you know, about my insurance business, I'm, you know, and all these other things. And yes, I just said it on video right now, right? But I'm not giving you all the details. And then after I shot it, and then I was like, okay, who can I get in communication with? And the next day, I was talking to my good friend and real estate friend, Susan Hood, down in Santa Cruz, and we talked for like almost 3 hours about that.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, a lot of that going live stemmed from that I spoke in December, so I knew I was going to go live, and you know, when I told this story about my childhood and how my mom struggled with alcoholism, and then at first I wanted it to be about her. But then I noticed why that was. And it was because in my early 20s, I had started binge drinking on the weekends, and I was out one night with some friends and was being very irresponsible and driving drunk. And that was also the moment that woke me up of like, you know, I was a kid. I saw my mom do these things. I had always vowed to myself I was never going to become that person. And I had become that person.
Isn't it amazing how we kids always, in some shape, form, or fashion, become like our parents?
Yeah, whether you admire them and want to be like them, or whether you detest them and are trying to be not like them.
Correct. That's a different video.
So anyways, in the talk, and it was like a day or two before the talk that I realized that, yeah, it was scary to say that, but also that's the power of like, and two, I'm very grateful and I'm very lucky that I didn't hurt anybody, that I didn't, both, right? That I and my friends, because I was driving a car full of people,
right?
That I didn't hit anybody else. And then after that, I was like, okay, you're done. Stop drinking. Luckily, I had my passion for golf that I was like, okay, I'll give up drinking because I have something to put that energy into. And, you know, and then so that was the catalyst. And then with the coaching, they had also pushed us. In December is when they had a challenge and they said, hey, can you go live every day? And I thought, sure, I'll go live every day. And then I'd already shared this thing about alcoholism. And so I just kept going. And then, oh, here's the other thing I want to say about this. As much as it's scary, and I like what you said about you got into communication with somebody the day after, because there was one night where I had made this promise in December I was going to go live every day. And a couple days after the talk, I was really depressed. Like, once that talk was off the table and I had this business in front of me and the liability of the coaching and paying my bills and not being sure about how I was going to make ends meet, I was super overwhelmed, and I'm laying in bed. It's about 10:30 at night. I don't
Welcome to
want
the jungle, baby. Welcome to the jungle. But keep
to.
going.
And so I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, I told myself that I was going to go live every day, but all I could talk, like, there was no way I could fake it and be like, hey, thanks for checking in. I'm feeling great. I was like, I don't feel great. But I went live. I didn't say a whole lot. And a couple of my friends saw me and they said, hey, you don't look good. And I said, I'm not doing good. I'm struggling. People reached out, like friends that saw me. And then I went to lunch the next day. My parents happened to be in town because they came for the talk. And that's also why I coach, is because I get it when it's scary and you don't know what you're doing. And most likely you're going to fail before you're successful. And you will be successful if you take action and you keep going and you do it. People actually want you to succeed, and they'll be there to support you when you fall down or when you stumble. And if I'm fortunate to have a great group of family and friends, but I've also cultivated a great group of friends. And if you're starting, if you don't have those people, you can find them. You can go meet people and
Yes, you can totally go meet people. Hold on for 1 second.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so you were talking about finding a tribe, and you went out. You have a tribe, and you're right.
I have a bunch of different tribes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say now it's funny. When I was younger, I felt like I had nobody and I had no friends, and I was not particularly fond of my family. And then as I've done self-development, I've got a lot of great golf friends. I've got a lot of great landmark friends. I've got my friends and my family. I'm closer with my family than I've ever been. And now I feel like, so when I was younger, it was like, okay, how am I going to meet people? That's what I was worried about. How am I going to get out of my shell and create relationships? And now my big concern is, how am I going to introduce these people that are very different? Like, because I was raised in the Midwest. We were Lutheran Christian. I don't practice that religion now, but my mom still does. But then I've taken ayahuasca and plant medicine, and I've got, friends all over the globe that have done all sorts of different things.
Yeah, because they're perfect, whole, and complete just as they are.
Yep.
They are. And it's interesting because I have come to realize during COVID-19 how much I compartmentalize my groups. So I have my landmark group, I have my St. Louis group, I have my California group, I have this group, and I have that group. And I've lately decided, you know what, through meditation and prayer, I've come to realize that all these people should just intertwine and mingle. Why? Because I do not know if Susan, who's in Santa Cruz, could benefit from having a relationship with, say, Shelby, who is a lawyer up in St. Louis that I know. Like, they may be able to have like an amazing dynamic working relationship, right? I don't know. But if I don't commingle my groups, how will I know how any of them could have benefited, from that commingling, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but the thing that I want to point back to is that you decided to start a business, and then you then realized that there was a new level of personal growth and development that had to happen.
Yeah.
And I hate to use the word "had to happen,"
but it's true.
But it's true. And I sometimes feel like we see these people like Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins, and we see these athletes, and we see all these great golfers and everything. But I don't think we don't see the hard work that goes in behind, right?
Right.
We don't see the transformation of who they have to be in order to achieve that level.
Well, and the transformation on a daily basis.
Correct. But we do see the news does promote when they crash.
Yep. Or when they're super high successful, right? Like when you sell that business or whatever, then all of a sudden it's, look at this person and they're successful seemingly overnight. Well, yeah, because you didn't have the camera on them while they were working their butt off.
While they were working their butt off, while they were reading books and listening to podcasts and all of that other stuff that goes into transformation of the mind.
Yep.
because I've come to finally realize that what you have achieved is just a reflection of your belief systems.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what. So you'd asked earlier, there's a book that I just listened to. I went to visit my sister in Colorado and listened to this audio book. And it's by a guy by the name of Trevor Moawad, and his father was a coach and teacher and did personal development back in the day. And then Trevor Moawad is a mental coach of sorts, and he works with Russell. I can't think of the football that he won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks.
That's out of my league.
The title of the book is "It Takes What It Takes."
Oh, it takes what it takes. We'll include a link to the book.
Okay. And then one of the key talking points is you don't have a choice. In being successful, when you figure out what you want to become, there are certain things you're going to have to do to become that person, and you don't really have a choice about it. Now, you have a choice whether or not you want to become that person. But if you decide you want to be a tour level golf pro, there's certain things you're going to have to do. And, just like I'm sure there's things for running an insurance business and again, now you have some choices to how those things get done, especially in a business.
Right.
But I thought that was really cool. And at first, when I listened to his book, I was actually really resistant to it. And I realized the resistance was just jealousy because he's a peer in my field and he's doing really well. And
wait, as a coach or as a caddy?
No, as a coach. So he does performance athletic coaching. He does mostly, I think some golfers, but he does a lot more like football players, basketball players, and then he does team stuff and is working on getting into the corporate world. But by the second half of the book, I was like, yeah, but that's what you do is you learn from either your competition or your peers and try to get better. Like if you can get a little bit better every day.
1% better every day.
Yep.
Yes. I forgot who said that. I think it was Earl Nightingale or Napoleon Hill. I don't know. But it's 1% better every day. It's 1%.
Yeah.
Right? But it takes what it takes. Interesting. And so now through this journey that you've been on since late 2019 to where you are now.
Right.
What's 3 things that you could tell somebody that's watching this video that's like going, okay, I want to start a business, whether it be on the side or whether it be whatever, right? How they're starting their business. What's 3 things that you could tell them? 3 tips that you could give them as a coach, as a life coach.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I told you this was going to be a raw conversation.
Well, and I just love it too. I love being asked questions I don't know the answers to.
Oh, you know the answer.
Right, but just, hadn't really thought about. But with what I would say about golf, and one of the things that I would say the most important thing for me is I keep going back to like, what are my gifts, right? What do I love? Because that's one of my passions for my business is to take something that I can do for the rest of my life. And so that, that for me is like, what do you love? Or what's one of your gifts? What's something that comes naturally to you that if you could do that and make a lot of money and make a business, what is that thing? So get clear about what that is, right?
So get clear about what that thing is, what it is that you would do even if you weren't paid for it.
Exactly. That's a great way of saying it.
That's number 1.
Yep. The second thing, find support. Like, I don't care if it's a best friend. I don't care if it's a brother, a sister, a mother, a father. And then 2, in the early stages, especially in the early stages, when you have an idea for that business and you're not so sure if that's what you want to do or if you're going to be good at it, be very choosy with who you share it with, because they may not, there's a lot of people that are not necessarily going to support what you're up to.
Now you're telling something right there, baby. Yes. Now, see, now you're about to make me go back to my roots, because that's the truth. It is the truth, because some people in their good intention, and I say this with love, right? But mostly 98% of us or 97% of Americans are taught to W-2.
Yeah.
We're taught to work for somebody else, go to college, get a job, know how much you're coming, bringing in every month or every 2 weeks or every week, right?
Yep.
And it's that transition from being a employee to a business owner, that's like it's literally almost like jumping across the Grand Canyon mentally.
It is, right, because it literally is a completely different mindset, and not just mindset, but like the emotions that you need to be able. Because, and what's interesting, right, and this is where COVID-19 is really interesting, because the people that took the route for the job and the wage and the W-2 that lost their job are now
Right.
realizing that there is no such thing as a safe bet, especially in today's economy. And so, you know, I was always more of a risk. And again, the risk taker was I had great family and friends behind me on some level back when I did the caddying and followed my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I knew school was always going to be there. Like plan B is always going to be there. That's the good news about school and those types of things. But yeah, but have somebody that you can talk to and you can trust, that like a friend, and ideally the more people the better, the bigger that team of people that can cheer you on and help remind you when you doubt yourself is key. And then the third thing I would say is do what you better than anybody else. And
You
so
do.
what's that?
I said, yes, you do.
And that no matter what somebody says to you, like you can stop in and check. Like I would have never made it in golf had not I had this sense of knowing who I was and knowing what I loved and being willing. Because when I was young, my passion, my goal was to be a golfer.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play professionally,
But you still can.
which I still can. And in my 20s, though, I realized I really love helping other people. Like in my mid 20s, when I was working for those coaches, there was a moment where I had realized, okay, I'm on track. I'm competing against other players for money. And I'm not where I want to be. Like there was people that were my age that were already on the PJ Tour. And so I stopped and I remember having this thought of like, okay, you love this, you could work hard for the next 10 years, but this is competitive. And what if it doesn't work out for you? Because you only have so much time when you're using your athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, but what if I became a coach? Because I also saw that as much as I love golf, I loved helping other people play. And I'm like, in the next 10 years, I could become a coach and I could help lots of players get really good at the game, which I actually think would be more fulfilling. And then two, even if I'm not successful in the next 10 years, I can keep practicing coaching for the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10. And saw that. And then two was, that vision was still very big. And in my early 20s, I was like, who am I to think I could do that? It's like, just get started, just do the thing. So, listen to that vision and be willing to go against the crowd, be willing to, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. Like that, that's what I'm practicing now is how to engage, especially on Facebook. How can I have conversations with people about politics, about COVID-19, about conspiracy theories? And, because we're a community. We're a community. And if we don't chime in and love our neighbors, and I'm not talking to random strangers, but I'm talking to friends of mine on Facebook.
Right.
And but it takes something to own your truth and allow people to own their other truth. But just remember, like, what's right for you. Follow your passion. You only got one life. Do what lights you up. Don't play it safe. Safe is boring.
Safe is it. Safe, yes. Because I will tell you, it's like until I became a business owner, I the things I thought I dealt with, I really didn't deal with. I just dealt with them on the surface level, like, right? And then I became a business owner, started my agency back in 2018, and all this stuff has come up, right? That I probably would have never gotten to. I would have never gone on landmark year in vacation course. I would have never done the landmark wisdom course. I probably wouldn't have done any more landmark courses at all.
Right.
I probably wouldn't, because for me, when I look at business owners, because I was selling to business owners, all I saw was just, oh, their tax returns. Oh, can they afford a loan with the bank, right? Or can they afford our credit card processing services, right? Their debt to income ratio, the liquidity ratio, the five C's of of banking. That's all I saw until I became one, and now I'm realizing, like, because sometimes I'm honestly thinking it's not about the lack of resources or the lack of a marketing or a lack of a budget. It's the
Exactly.
space between the two heads. I mean, between the two ears. I'm sorry.
One of my other favorite quotes: "You will never outperform self-image."
Oh, yes. And that is from Brian Tracy, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who said it. There's a couple of these people that are sort of godfathers of self-development.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting. Like if you don't, and I've had a bunch of different mentors that have reiterated that same thing. Like if it's that old Henry Ford quote: "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right."
That is true. That is true. Because I'm currently facing that in my own business right now with COVID-19 and blah, blah, blah. And I have to remind myself that, Earl, if you tell yourself you can't make it through this, you're not going to make it through this,
Yeah.
right? And I have to constantly keep reminding myself that greater is he who is in me than he is defeated in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, the God that I serve didn't let me get this far just to stop,
Right.
right? And so this is why I wanted to bring you on before you became big and successful, before you like coach the next big PGA tour person, right? And you become unavailable, because there are other people out there that are starting a business or thinking about starting a business or have started a business, and they feel stopped, right?
Yeah.
And to have a conversation with the person who's been down that road, in that road, the whole 9 yards, maybe it will inspire them and push them and motivate them, right? Because you're right, it is number one, figuring out what it is that you want to do. Number two, creating that tribe, right? And then
Yeah.
number three, like, you got to go within, because it's deep down inside, and it's just gotten pushed down with all the conversations that you've heard, observed, listened to over the years, right?
Yeah.
Not that anybody was mean and intentional trying to be evil towards anybody, right? But it's kind of like you got to,
Tough to deal with. Like,
yeah, it's literally one of those things. It's kind of like, if you take water and you pour the water into the glass and there's a lot of dirt in the glass, you got to keep pouring the water into the glass to get the dirt out. And eventually that glass is going to show clean water,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Keep moving. Keep pouring that water.
Yes, even if it's, right. Because, oh my God, I hate you for that one.
Why?
Because sometimes I find myself I just stop,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's when I have to have a hard conversation with the client, because for example, I inherited some clients from a different agent, and that insurance agent, bless their hearts, did the best they could at the time. But the policies are not where they should be for the clients in 2020,
Mm,
right? So how do you have that, and I have to have that conversation with those customers. And it freaks me out, because it's like, well, the other agent didn't say that, and nobody else is saying that. And now, Earl, you come along and now you're saying it. But at the same time, it's my license and it's my reputation. And I care about, the reason why I'm an insurance agent is because I want people to always be whole and complete, right? And
yeah.
insurance is the only product out there that does that financially. It's the only one. There's nothing else. Does it almost tax free, depending on what type of policy it is and what state you're in. But that's a different subject. Okay, so anyway, we're going to wrap this up. So, Andy, so if people wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about what you do as a caddy and or as a personal coach, how do they reach you? Please share the deets.
Yeah, so the two main places are that I spend most of my time. I have a LinkedIn page. I need to revamp that. Um, because so I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Techmeier on Facebook, and then Andy Techmeier on Instagram are the three main places that I
Okay,
use social media.
good. And then of course I'll include a link to the Facebook and Instagram so you guys can DM him and get the deets. And with that being said, anything else, Andy, for the peeps? Like, like what do you tell your golfer before they go up and swing? What do you,
Well, and this is the other thing that I've learned the first few years is that player I mentioned from Finland. Like when I was really confident and I was being myself, I think I'm funny, right? Like when I see something that's funny to me, I'll say it, and then but sometimes my sense of humor is kind of dark. Sometimes my sense of humor is kind of weird. But do the thing that has it be fun for you. Like don't wait for other people to go first because they're waiting for you. And so in just just sharing it, just sharing whatever it is and having fun and being be yourself, like whatever that means. um but yeah, I like it when you did that little thing. It was like, yeah, have fun with it. um
oh, you lucky I didn't break out in song on you, but we don't do that.
yeah,
Not yet. I know. All right, Andy, I appreciate you taking
I
time out of
appreciate
your,
you too, Earl. Thank you so much.
yes,
This was a pleasure.
thank you. Bye, you guys. Hold on, we're gonna start recording. Yes, I said it.